this is our the girls' rendition of Book 9 of the Odyssey. Odysseus' adventures getting home from the war in Troy, and Book 9 is where they encounter the Cyclops. So,
yes, and it was Odysseus telling the whole story, so we divided it to make more people, and we are adding some crewmates to the mix.
So we have Macromates. We have, what was it?
I don't think I had a name, sadly.
And then Odysseus. So
yes.
Macromates, other crewmate, Odysseus. Oh, and also Cyclops. So
Yes.
We encourage you to laugh.
Please.
We'd rather.
If you're gonna be encouraging, we'd rather you laugh in the middle than clap at the end. So
Yes. So here we go. We hope you enjoy it. What shall I tell you first? Where do I stop? For the heavenly gods have given me so much distress. I am Odysseus, son of Laertes, well known to all for my deceptive skills. My fame reaches all the way to heaven. I live in Ithaca, a land of sunshine, and in my view, nothing one can see is ever sweeter than a glimpse of one's own native land.
But come, we will describe the miserable journey back which Zeus arranged for us when we returned from war. From Troy, our ships were carried by the wind to Ismarus. Then Zeus brought us disaster. He made that our fate, so we would suffer many casualties. We sailed away from there.
Cloud gatherer Zeus then stirred the north wind to rage against our ships. The ships were driven far, of course.
We sailed and reached the country of the Cyclops, a crude and lawless people. Now, near the country of the Cyclops, outside the harbor, there's a fertile island. We sailed in there.
We dragged up our ships, took down our sails, and then lay there and fell asleep, waiting until the light of dawn.
As soon as rose-fingered early dawn appeared, we moved across the island by minutes.
We looked across towards the country of the Cyclops, which was not too far away. We saw their smoke, heard their voices, and sounds of sheep and goats. After the sun went down and darkness fell, we lay down on the shore and went to sleep.
As soon as rose-fingered early dawn appeared, I gathered my men and spoke to them. My loyal comrades, stay here where you are. I'll take my own crew, my own ship, and try to find out who these people are.
The men embarked with speed. As they made the short trip round the island, they saw a high cave overhung with laurel. There were many flocks penned in there.
At night, a giant slept there, a brute that grazed his flocks all by himself somewhere far off. He avoided others and lived alone, away from all the rest. A law unto himself, a monster, made to be a thing of wonder, not like man who survives by eating bread. No, more like a soaring wooded mountain standing there to view in isolation from the rest.
I selected 12 of my best men, and we went off to explore.
We reached the Cyclops cave but couldn't find him. We went inside the cave and looked around.
It was incredible. Crates full of cheese, pens crammed with livestock. The sturdy buckets, pails, and milking bowls were awash with whey.
Anyway, at first my comrades urged me to grab some cheeses in return, but I did not agree. Though, if I had, things would have turned out better.
Amen.
It's the truth.
I was keen to see the man in person and find out if he'd show me hospitality.
We lit a fire and offered sacrifice. Then we helped ourselves to cheese and ate it, staying inside the cave and waiting there until he led his flocks back home. In our fear, we moved to the remote end of the cave, into the deepest corner.
He then drove his fat flock inside the spacious cavern, just the ones he milked. He then fixed a boulder in a high position as a door. He sat down with his bleeding goats and ewes and milked them all. Once he finished working at these tasks, he lit a fire. He noticed us and said,
Strangers, who are you men? What seerud brought you here? Are you traders or wandering the sea at random like pirates, sailing anywhere, risking their lives to injure other men?
As he spoke, our hearts collapsed, terrified by his deep voice and monstrous size.
But still, I answered him and said, we are Achaeans, returning home from Troy and blown off course.
Yep.
Attempting to get home, we had to take an alternate route and chart another course.
Yeah, we're visitors here and come as suppliants to your need in the hope that you'll welcome us or give us some gift. The usual things one does for strangers.
And so, good sir, respect the gods. We're here as suppliants to you, and Zeus protects all suppliants and strangers.
What fools you strangers are. Or else you come from some land far away, telling me if you're the gods, to shun their rage. The Cyclops care nothing about Zeus, who bears the aegis, or the blessed gods. We are much more powerful than they are. I would not spare you or your companions to escape the wrath of Zeus, not unless my own heart encouraged me to do it. But now tell me this, when you landed here, where did you moor your ship? A spot close by or further off? I'd like to find that out.
He said this to throw me off, but still, I gave him a misleading answer. Earthshaker Poseidon broke my ship apart, driving against the rocks on the border of your land there. That's what I told him. But in his ruthless heart, he gave me no reply. Instead, he jumped up, seized two of my companions in his fist.
He tore their limbs apart to make a meal and chewed them up just like a mountain lion. When Cyclops had stuffed his massive stomach with human flesh and washed it down with milk, he stayed there in the cave and laid out among his flocks. Now, we didn't have the strength with our own hands to roll from the high door the massive rock he'd set there, so we groaned and stayed there waiting for a brightening dawn.
As soon as rose-fingered early on appeared, again, he lunged in and snatched two of my men and gorged himself.
After his meal, he easily rolled back the high door and drove his rich flocks away towards the mountain.
He left me in the cave, plotting a nasty scheme deep in my heart. The best plan was as follows. There was a club belonging to the Cyclops lying there. I chopped off a piece and gave it to my men. They straightened it while I chipped and tapered it to a sharp point. Then we placed it in the smoldering fire to harden. Once that was done, we placed the stake to one side.
In the evening, he came back. He picked up and put his huge rock door in place. When this task was finished, he quickly seized two men and wolfed them down.
I offered him a bowl of my dark red wine and I said, Cyclops, take this wine and drink it now you've had your meal of human flesh, so you may know the kind of wine I had on board my ship. A gift of drink I was bringing to you in hopes you pity me and send me off on my journey home. But your savagery is something I can't bear. How you acted so against all human law.
He grabbed the cup and gulped down the sweet red wine. Once he swallowed, he felt such great delight. He asked for some more, a second taste.
Be kind and give me some of that again. And now, without delay, tell me your name, so as my guest I can offer you a gift. Something you'll like.
I handed him more fiery wine 3 times. I poured some out and gave it to him. And, like a fool, he swilled it down. So then, once that strong wine had addled the Cyclops' wits, I gave him this comforting answer. My name, you asked for it, my famous name? My name is No Man. My mother and father, all my friends, they call me No Man.
Well, No Man, I'll let all your companions be before you and have you at the end. My gift to you, since you're my guest.
After saying these words, all conquering sleep overpowered him.
So then, we pushed the stake deep in the ashes. Once that stake of olive wood, though green, was glowing hot, my men lifted up that stake and jammed its sharpened end down into the Cyclops' eye.
Blood poured out through the heat around his eye as his eyeball burned. Lids and brows were singed. His horrific cries echoed throughout the rock, and all the other Cyclops heard him shouting. They came crowding from all directions, and standing at the cave mouth, they questioned him, asking him what was wrong.
Polyphemus, what's so bad that you keep howling through the immortal night and wake us up?
No Man is killing me, my friends, by treachery.
Well, if this No Man is, around and you're by yourself, this must be some sickness given
yeah.
by great Zeus, one you can't escape.
With these words, they went away, and my heart was laughing.
But Cyclops groaned, writhing in agony. Groping with his hands, he removed the rock door and sat there in the doorway with his arms outstretched, attempting to catch anyone who tried to escape with the sheep.
To my heart, the best plan was as follows. In the Cyclops flock, the rams were really fat. I grabbed 3 at a time and tied them together with twisted willow shoots. The middle ram carried a single man, and the 2 on either side were for protection. I too had my own ram, the finest one in the whole flock by far. I grabbed its back, then swung myself below its fleecy gut and lay there, face upwards, with my fingers clutching at its amazing fleece. My heart was firm. We waited there like that until bright dawn.
As soon as rose-fingered early dawn appeared, the flock trotted off to pasture.
Their master, in great pain, ran his hands across the backs of all the sheep as they moved past him, but was such a fool he failed to notice how my men were tied below their fleecy bellies. Of that flock, my ram was the last to move through the door, weighed down by its thick wool and my sly thoughts.
Stroking the back of the animal, huge Polyphemus spoke and said,
My lovely ram, how come you are the last one to move out of the cave? You must be sad, grieving for your master's eye now blinded, thanks to that evil fellow and his crew. That No Man destroyed my wits with wine, but I tell you, I can still destroy him. If only you could feel and speak like me, you'd tell me where he's hiding from my rage. I'd smash his brains out on the ground in here, sprinkle them in each corner of this cave, and then my heart would ease the agonies this worthless No Man has brought on me.
Saying these words, he pushed the ram outside the door. We reached our ship, a welcome sight. Although to our fellow crewmates we'd escaped being killed, and we mourned for those who died. Each man, climbing aboard the ship, took a seat amongst an oar. and struck the gray sea surface with their blades.
I shouted out and mocked the mighty Cyclops. Cyclops, it seems he was no weakling after all, a man whose comrades you so wish to eat. Your evil acts were bound to catch you out. You wretch! You didn't even hesitate to gorge yourself on guests in your own home. Now Zeus and the other gods have paid you back.
He took a huge chunk of mountain rock and hurled it. The ship landed by a ship's dark prow. As the boulder sank, the sea surged under it, and waves pushed us back towards the shore like a tidal flood.
Once we got some distance out to sea, about twice as far, I started shouting, Cyclops, if any mortal human being asks about the injury that blinded you, say your eye was burned out by Odysseus, sacker of cities, son of Laertes, a man from Ithaca.
Alas, now an ancient prophecy about me has truly been fulfilled. All these things would come to pass someday. I'd lose my sight at the hand of someone called Odysseus. But I always expected he'd be large, a noble man with enormous powers, but now, puny, good-for-nothing weakling, after overpowering me with wine, has destroyed my eye. Come here, Odysseus, so I can give you your gift as my guest, and urge the famous shaker of the earth to escort you homeward.
I wish I were sure that I could kill you, as I am confident not even the great shaker of the earth will fix your eye. After I said this, he offered this prayer to Lord Poseidon.
Hear me, Poseidon, enfolder of the earth, dark-haired god, if I truly am your son, and if you are my father, as you claim. Grant that Odysseus, sacker of cities, a man from Ithaca, Laertes' son, never gets back home. If it's his destiny to see his friends and reach his native land and well-built house, may he arrive there late and in distress, after all his comrades have been killed and in someone else's ship, and may he find misfortune in his home.
Your arm! I'm so sorry, are you okay?
This eye was already injured.
Why did you guys go right
she didn't
ahead?
even like hit me.
Okay.
I didn't. I thought like
you did it.
Are
You
you
did it.
sure?
Yeah, actually
it's fine,
supposed to
it's
take out her eyes,
Oh
Michaela.
my gosh, that scared me so bad.
That was so
Thank you.
We paired it